It was an ordinary afternoon in a Texas supermarket. Shoppers pushed carts through the aisles, kids ran around, scanners beeped steadily, nothing out of the ordinary, but within seconds, the familiar atmosphere would be shattered by a single cruel sentence. At the fruit section, an elderly white woman with silver hair, dressed in a faded gray cardigan, glared at a young black man and spat out words filled with venom. "You don't belong here. Go back to Africa." The entire store froze. Everyone waited for the young man's reaction. Would he lash out? Walk away? Or do something no one expected? What happened next didn't just silence the woman. It changed the whole atmosphere in the supermarket, forever. Green Valley Market was a place where everyone in this small Texas town shopped. On weekends, the aisles buzzed with noise, carts rolling, small talk echoing, families shopping together. Among them was Marcus, a 26-year-old black man. He wore a simple shirt and jeans, carrying a neat grocery basket, casually checking his phone as he walked. Everything was normal, until he reached the fruit section. There stood Helen, a 74-year-old woman. Her silver hair pinned neatly, her cardigan faded with age, her hands clutching apples. At first glance, she looked harmless. But her eyes hardened when she saw Marcus, and then, the explosion, her voice sharp, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I told you, people like you don't belong here. This is my country. Go back to where you came from." The sound in the supermarket seemed to vanish. A young mother pulled her son closer. A stock boy froze mid-action. Some shoppers stared. Others looked away. He once bustling store suddenly felt heavy, weighed down by something far uglier than groceries. This wasn't just a random insult. It was prejudice laid bare, and the question hung in the air: how do you respond to hate? With anger? With silence? Or with something far stronger? The store held its breath. Marcus stood still, basket in hand, staring at Helen. "And so, I ask you watching right now, backhand index pointing right, if it were you, what would you do? Would you snap back in anger, proving her wrong? Would you walk away, avoiding conflict? Or would you take a harder path, one that forces everyone in the room to think?" Speech balloon comment below. If it were me, I would. And if this story already has your heart racing, hit like and subscribe so you won't miss more real-life stories that hit this hard. The air was suffocating. Marcus drew in a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and slowly set his basket down. He looked Helen directly in the eye. His voice was calm, steady. "Ma'am, do you realize what you just said?" It wasn't angry. It was reflective, a mirror held up for her to see herself. But Helen doubled down, her chin lifted high, her grip on the apples tight. "I said what I said. You don't belong here. This is my America." The words cut like a blade. A woman shielded her child's ears. A man near the bread aisle shook his head. Everyone waited. Marcus paused. He could scream. He could storm out, but instead, his voice carried across the aisle. "You say I don't belong, me tell you where I come from. My great-great-grandfather was born in Georgia in the early 1900s. He was the son of a black man forced into labor after slavery, working land he didn't own. His sweat traded for scraps. His father, my ancestor, didn't choose to come here. He was chained, kidnapped from Africa, and sold like property. They lost their freedom, but their blood and labor built the very foundation of this country." Marcus's eyes locked on Helen. His voice steadied, heavier with history. "My grandfather fought in the Korean War. When this country called, he wore the uniform. He carried the rifle. He fought alongside white soldiers, but when he came back, he couldn't sit at the same counters. He couldn't drink from the same fountains, and yet he stayed, because he believed that one day America would belong to all its people." The crowd stirred. An old veteran near the deli counter nodded, mist in his eyes. Marcus went on. "My father is a mechanic. My mother a teacher. They're not wealthy. They're not powerful. But they raised me with love and sacrifice. My mother taught hundreds of kids, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. My father. He's the kind of man who would pull over to help fix a stranger's car, even if it were yours, ma'am." Marcus stepped closer, his voice unwavering. So when you say I don't belong here, think again. I was born here. I was raised here. My family's sweat, blood, and tears are woven into this land. I belong here every bit as much as you, maybe even more than you realize. The supermarket went silent. No one pretended to shop anymore, every eye fixed on Marcus and Helen. Helen trembled, clutching her apples. Her face flushed, for the first time, doubt flickered in her eyes. Marcus softened his voice. You may think your words were just a slip, but words like that have kept generations bowed, afraid, silent. Today, I will not be silent, not to win an argument, but so everyone here knows, we all deserve respect, every human being deserves dignity. For a heartbeat, silence, then, from the back, a clap. The old veteran spoke, he's right. A woman near the frozen aisle added softly, my father fought in the same war. He always said the only color that mattered was red, white, and blue. Clapping spread, smiles broke through the tension, and Helen looked smaller than ever. Her fire was gone. The applause faded, but Marcus wasn't done. He turned, now speaking to everyone. I could have walked away. I could have stayed silent, but silence feeds ignorance. Every time we don't speak, prejudice grows stronger. He let the words hang, then continued. But when we confront it, calmly, firmly, something changes. Maybe one person feels ashamed, maybe one person begins to think, and maybe the next generation lives in a world more just than this one. He raised his hand slightly, his voice resonant. Words can destroy, but words can heal. Today, I chose the truth, because truth, spoken with calm and dignity, plants a seed, and that seed can grow into change. The crowd was transformed. A mother whispered to her son, always respect others, no matter what they look like. The boy nodded. The old veteran wiped his eyes and clasped Marcus's shoulder. Son, you did what many of us wish we had the courage to do. Stand tall. With kindness. Marcus picked up his basket, but before leaving, he turned back. His eyes swept the crowd, his voice gentle but firm. We can't choose what others say to us, but we can always choose how we respond. Remember, silence keeps prejudice alive, but truth, courage, and kindness, that's the power that changes hearts. Then, as if speaking directly to us watching asterisk, if you believe words can heal instead of hurt, if you believe kindness can defeat prejudice, share this story. Hit like. Subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Because your words today might plant the seed of change in someone tomorrow. Marcus walked out of the supermarket into the warm Texas sunset. The parking lot stretched ahead, shadows long and golden. He carried his basket quietly, his face thoughtful, his step steady. He didn't smile in victory. He simply whispered to himself, sometimes, it's not about winning, it's about planting a seed. The camera pulled back, showing Marcus walking into the distance, the supermarket behind him. The horizon ahead. Words can divide, but they can also heal. Choose wisely how you leave your mark. Thank you for watching. If you believe stories like this matter, hit subscribe to join us, and don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss the next one.